Welcome back to They Said Quotes, the channel dedicated to the remarkable words of the most inspired individuals in the world. Today, we're delving into the topic of overcoming our addictions, such as pride, laziness, gluttony, lust, and greed. Since the dawn of humanity, we've been subject to the tyranny of vices. Each and every one of us has fallen prey to them, making countless thinkers throughout history speak about them. Vices awaken our most irrational side, seducing us, clouding our understanding, and directing our appetites toward the basest passions a human possesses. They even subjugate reason, making it try to convince itself that the vice is not as bad as expected. As you might infer, Stoicism stands out as one of the most critical doctrines regarding vices. Similar to an animal subjected to its instincts and desires, it guides us towards a full and happy life. As you've likely experienced, vice makes us feel tremendously satisfied momentarily. However, this satisfaction is fleeting and temporary. When it fades, it leaves only suffering, anguish, and misery. Vice may seem to fill and satisfy us, but in reality, it empties us and leaves a wound in the soul that only virtue can heal. Marcus Aurelius asserted that vice is its own punishment, residing in its own destruction. He would add that vice is the most powerful enemy one can face, but virtue is the best defense against it. In this video, I'll try to help you take control of yourself, manage your vices, and ultimately become more virtuous and happier. To achieve this, I'll divide the video into two parts. First, I'll explain what vice means historically, and then I'll provide you with 10 pieces of advice to combat vice through virtue. Before we begin, I'd appreciate it if you could give the video a like, as it helps me spread this philosophy to more people. If you don't want to miss any videos, subscribe and hit the bell icon. I'll also leave a link in the description for my other social media where I share more historical content related to Stoicism. According to Stoicism, vice is morally incorrect and harmful conduct for the individual committing it. It is a fiction of the soul that inclines towards rational appetite, distorts judgment, causes suffering, and undermines inner peace and serenity. Examples of vices, as we all know, include vanity, anger, fear, lust, greed, gluttony, and so on. Marcus Aurelius explains that these deviations of the soul result from errors in judgment derived from a misapplication of the virtue of wisdom. When we fall prey to vice, our reason is nullified, pleasure and desire are unleashed, and momentary satisfaction prevails over true happiness, leading us to become prisoners of irrational and selfish impulses, making us more like animals than human beings. Those who succumb to vice renounce reason, the very thing that makes us human, and become slaves to their passions. Falling into vice indicates a clear lack of self-love and love for humanity, as it chooses to betray the most perfect and noble within oneself, the human faculty of thinking. Besides making us more like animals, vice makes us dependent prisoners. Others can easily manipulate us through our weaknesses, hence Marcus Aurelius stating that, after the error of ignorance, vice is rooted in the error of lack of autonomy. Reason is replaced by pleasure, losing the capacity to control passions and direct them towards virtue. Desire and virtue, according to history, are incompatible. Therefore, vices that prioritize desires and distance us from virtue separate us from both serenity and the happy life that every human should strive for. However, one should not think that succumbing to vices is inevitable. On the contrary, as Stoicism argues, it is necessary to fight every day to practice virtue. We must strive to be more rational, serene, gradually renounce vices, and achieve self-mastery. It's a challenging task, yes, but it corresponds to a goal as great as true happiness. Music, if it were easy to achieve, it wouldn't be so marvelous or valuable. If you resonate with Stoic ideas, you probably agree with all these concepts. However, you might be wondering, even if you agree, what can you concretely do to overcome vices in your daily life? Where do you start? That's what I'll dedicate the second part of this video to, where I'll provide you with various pieces of advice to combat the tyranny of vices and cultivate virtue. Know yourself. To fight against something, you must first know exactly what you're fighting against. Reflect deeply on your weaknesses and vices. We're all aware of what they are and how they affect us. Identifying the cause of our disturbance and unhappiness is the first step to overcoming them. Be aware of the long road ahead. Eliminating vices is a complicated task as they are deeply rooted in our hearts. There may be relapses on this journey, but that's entirely natural. The important thing is not to give up and always come back to the fight. With persistence, there will come a day when you completely overcome them. Determine your motivation. Think about the valuable reasons that led you to want to quit the vice. The primary reason is to be happier, but for each person, there may be other specific motivations, such as saving money, taking care of health, having better relationships, among others. Keep these goals in mind, especially in the most challenging moments, and remember that these objectives are infinitely more valuable and deserving, if not easier. It doesn't need to be easy, but it shouldn't be impossible either. It's essential to realize that overcoming vice will require effort, but also to feel that you'll be able to achieve it. Start progressively. You don't need to quit suddenly. Set progressive goals, whether daily, weekly, or monthly, and gradually distance yourself from the vice, like ants accumulating grain by grain to make a mountain, as Marcus Aurelius said. Virtue is not something acquired overnight, it's the result of constant work in controlling vices. Avoid risky situations. If you know your vices and weaknesses and are determined to overcome them, avoid at all costs situations that may lead you back to those vices. This may involve changing certain habits and your environment to avoid temptations. Be courageous, and remember that every sacrifice is worth it. Distance yourself from those who incite vice. Someone who leads you to vice isn't caring for you as you deserve. When we truly value someone, we want the best for them. Vice is an evil that leads to unhappiness, so those who encourage it in you aren't interested in your true happiness. It's crucial to distance yourself from those who drag you into vice, as it benefits both you and the other person. Cut ties with relationships that deep down you know aren't good for either of you. Seek help. No one can solve all problems alone. Turning to others can be very beneficial. Besides finding support, there are undoubtedly many people who have fallen into the same vice as you and can share their experiences. Family, friends, philosophers, professionals, many people can be of great help. Understand the difference between momentary pleasure and the immense satisfaction provided by virtue. Indulging in vices and satisfaction denotes immense lack of self-love, harming ourselves and denying good to ourselves. Furthermore, vice inevitably affects those around us, either by sharing it with them, encouraging it in others, or tolerating it in others. Vice is like a spiral, a black hole that ends up dragging everything and everyone. Don't harm yourself, and don't allow harm to be done to others. Music, it's not just an act of self-improvement, but also a service to society and the world. To conclude, I'd like to share with you some quotes about vices from historical philosophers. True greatness lies in breaking the chains of vices that bind us and prevent us from achieving freedom and inner peace, says Epictetus. Vices are weaknesses we must overcome to attain greatness and wisdom, writes Marcus Aurelius. What do you think of the Stoic doctrine on controlling vices? Have you managed to overcome any? I await your response in the comments. I hope this video helps you realize the harm vices cause and the need to overcome them. I also hope I've provided tools for you to overcome them. Remember that serenity is true happiness, and it's at stake here. Here are 2 videos full of Stoic wisdom that you'll surely enjoy. Until next time, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all.